Yo, what's good YouTube? My name is DJ and I'm a sports content creator based out of Concord, North Carolina. And today I'm gonna be going over all the gear that I use to shoot sports, whether it's photos, videos, photo shoots, games, all that stuff. So today I'm going to go over all the gear that I use for that. But before we dive full into the video, definitely hit that like button and hit the subscribe button as we're on the grind to hit 500 subs. So if you can do that for me, it'll help this channel grow and I would truly appreciate it. But let's get into the video. All right, so we're gonna start off by talking about the main camera that I've used for the last year or so and the camera that I'm shooting this video on right now, and that's the Sony A7 IV. Like I said, I picked this camera up probably about a year ago, and prior to that, I had the Sony A7 III, which was a great camera, but I kind of wanted to upgrade to get higher quality pictures and also use 4K 60, which this camera provides. Pretty much everything that you've seen on my page, excluding the last month or so, has been shot on this camera. This camera takes pictures very well compared to the A7 III, especially in low light conditions. I know there's been times where I've taken pictures at night or like in low light conditions where I have to boost my ISO to around 6400 or a little bit above that. And I know when I did that in the A7 III, like you can definitely see all the noise and the grain in the picture. But with this camera, I'm able to push that ISO up just a little bit higher with less noise. So I do appreciate that with the picture quality. As far as video, it's not been too bad. The one downside when you shoot in 4K 60 is that it does crop in. So when you're shooting at a 24 millimeter, it's roughly around close to a 50 millimeter if I'm not mistaken. And also the Sony A7 IV doesn't have 4K 120, which is a little bit disappointing, but I knew that prior to getting this camera, so I was fully aware of it. But this camera can shoot in 1080p at 120 frames per second, so you can always fall back on the 1080p. But over the time, I knew I wanted to upgrade to a camera that had 4K 120, just because I know social media, Instagram and Twitter, they always compress video files and photos. So with that being said, having that 4K resolution definitely helps in that aspect. But next I want to talk about the camera that I upgraded to, which is this camera right here. This is the Sony A7S3. And this camera is centered around those who primarily want to do video. So it has a 12 megapixel sensor, which is very small compared to Sony A7 IV, which has 33, I believe. And I say all that to say, you probably don't want to take pictures with this camera. Although you can technically do it, I wouldn't rely on it for professional work. With the sensor being so small, if you're taking a picture with this camera, you kind of have to leave it as is as far as cropping. The moment you start cropping into the photo taken on this camera is when you really lose quality. But again, this is a video center camera, so I wouldn't worry about taking pictures with it. This can shoot in 4K 120, which is what I love. And you can shoot in S-Log3, which is really popular right now, especially if you're shooting projects. You can also do it on A7 IV, which I forgot to mention. But yeah, this camera has been phenomenal so far. One thing I wish I knew before buying this camera is that this camera takes up a lot of memory, especially when you're shooting in 4K 120. So I have to buy 2 new SD cards that would specifically handle those file sizes, just because the ones that you shoot for 4K 60 is totally different than 4K 20. But yeah, those are the 2 cameras that I shoot on. The A7 IV is primarily my photography camera, and the A7S III is what I do most of my video work on. All right, to talk about lenses real quick, we're gonna talk about the one that I'm recording this video on right now, and that is the Tamron 28-75. It's definitely one of my go-to lenses whenever I'm doing a workout video or doing a photo shoot for a sports brand, and when I'm getting pre-game shots, whether it be photos or videos of a basketball game or a football game. The 28-75 is just so versatile. You can zoom in and get those up close detail shots, or you can get some zoomed out shots of just capturing what's going on as a whole. The second lens that I own is the Tamron 70-180. You're definitely gonna want to telephoto lens, especially if you're shooting in sports that's far away like football or soccer or baseball. But I ended up picking this lens up when I first started doing sports content, so I really didn't have that much money to spend on a $2,000 lens. And I think at the time when I bought it, this lens was $1,200, so it just made sense to get this lens instead. Next, we're gonna talk about the drone that I use, and that's the DJI Mini 3. To be honest, you really don't need a drone. I ended up getting a drone because I saw one of my favorite creators, which is Zayflix, have a dope drone shot in his football video recap videos. And I think ever since then, I just felt like I needed that element in my videos as well. But yeah, do not break the bank to get a drone because you will hardly ever use it unless you're doing special projects. So you don't need a drone, but it's nice to have a drone whenever you can't afford a drone. Next, we have the GoPro 9, which I don't use often, but I definitely will incorporate it more now that I'm posting more on YouTube and more on social media. So for the first accessory that we're gonna talk about, and it's gonna be, I don't wanna say it wrong, it's the FieldWorld F7 Pro. And again, you don't need a monitor when you're doing videos, but it is nice to have a bigger screen sometimes. I know when I don't have this and I'm shooting, looking directly into the camera or looking at the LCD panel from the camera, it's hard to see my zebras to see if I'm overexposed, and it's harder to track the ball in football or basketball or whatever sport it is without this. So this is definitely helpful, but it's not necessary to have. Next, we're gonna talk about the gimbal that I do use. occasionally, and that's the DJI RS3 Mini. Again, you don't need this. I hardly ever use this. If I do use it, it's for a specific shoot that I have planned out and I know what kind of shots I'm going to get. But other than that, I don't use this for live sports. A few more accessories that I have is the small rig cage and the top handle that goes to it. So you attach the top handle to the cage, and then you can add more accessories to it. So I like to add my mic to it, which is a $40 Rode mic that I got from Best Buy. And this mic works so well compared to the $120 mic that I had from some company that I won't even say because I don't remember the name of it. And then I will add my monitor to the cage so it goes to the top part of the handle. Like I said before, the monitor gives me a better view of what I'm looking at. And then adding my camera and then the lens to this, it gives it like a good weight so it's more stable whenever I'm tracking the ball or tracking the player. What else do I have? Oh, so this is a black mist filter from Tipton. I believe it's a 1/8 filter. And what this does is it brings out your highlights and it gives your shot more of a dreamy look. Shout out to Queen City Shoots who put me onto this filter. And then we have the K&F Concept Nano X, which is an ND filter and a CPL filter all in one. What a CPL filter does, it removes reflections off of maybe water or a car. So you pretty much won't need the CPL filter for sports, but you'll definitely need an ND filter, especially when you're shooting sports. Because if you're setting your camera settings correctly outside, then your shot's gonna be way overexposed. But in order to keep your settings and have the proper exposure, you can use an ND filter, and the ND filter is kind of like shades. So right now the ND filter is fully open and it's bringing in a lot of light, but if you wanna cut that light out, you just turn it a little bit, and you can see now the shot is way darker than before. So it's dark now, and now it's wide open. So definitely pick you up an ND filter, especially if you're shooting outdoor sports. All right, so I get a lot of comments and questions asking where I get my lights from that I use for my photo shoots lately. And these are from a company called Nanlite, and I'm gonna pronounce it wrong, but it's called Pavo Tubes, but I'll leave a link in the description. So yeah, these are the lights that I use for the last couple of shoots, and I really enjoy them. People keep calling them lightsabers. They're not lightsabers. They do like lightsabers, but they're not lightsabers. But yeah, these are the lights that I use. And I also have some like little light tubes that I bought from Amazon that you can use as well. These are much cheaper than the ones that I showed you before, but these are really dope too. You can use this for probably like a backlight. I'm using one right now to shoot down on me. But yeah, these are like little cool to have, especially to set the mood for a photo shoot, or if you're just sitting around editing, you just want to put it right beside you for a nice little mood, you can do it as well. Last, I want to talk about what I use to edit on. So I have a MacBook Pro 16 gigabyte. I believe this is the 2022 edition. Prior to my MacBook Pro, I had a MacBook Air, which wasn't bad up until I started shooting in 4K. And the software that I use to edit is Premiere Pro for 99% of everything that I do. And the software that I use to edit my photos is Lightroom Classic. I have used After Effects a little bit, but I'm still working on getting comfortable with it. So yeah, that's all the equipment and camera gear that I have that I use on a daily basis for my photo shoots and game shoots and all other kinds of shoots. If you enjoy this type of content, definitely hit that like button and hit the subscribe button as we're on the road to hitting 500 subs. If you haven't already, definitely go check out the last video that I posted. I go over how to shoot a basketball workout video and the gear that I use for that video as well. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.